Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Movie Magic Show for Wednesday, the 11th of August, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Shane Bailey, joined by my wickedly talented cast. Not your wickedly talented, my wickedly talented cast. To my right, he loves his VR and shaking his hips like Shakira. Please welcome the era of Jason Mira.
Hey.
How are you, Jace?
Living the lockdown dream.
Living the lockdown dream? That's good to know.
Yeah.
And to his right, making his debut, he's the football know-it-all here tonight to ignite the spotlight, Scott White.
Whoa!
That was beautiful. I can't follow that up.
I know, that's always my
That's a good one.
I prefer Football Encyclopedia for future references.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Wow,
That
oh my
doesn't
god.
doesn't quite roll off the tongue and rhyme with your
Well,
last
welcome
name,
to the
so.
show, Scott.
How are you, my
Thank you,
friend?
guys. Also tired of lockdown and living the lockdown COVID life, but otherwise, yeah, I'm fine. I'm alive, I guess. I have not much to complain about.
Glad to have you on this side of chat. You're usually there, throwing us quips and giving us insights, but good to have you on, my friend. Hello to Comrade Callie in chat also. Thanks for joining us. This is the Movie Magic Show every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, right here, twitch.tv/magic_cast. We chuckleheads get together to love, like, bash, and trash the latest the entertainment world has to offer. If you like that, follow us on Twitter at Movie Magic Show. We'll notify you when we're going live and also which topics we'll be discussing. Speaking of topics, this week we're reviewing Shrek and Shrek 2. Yes, after one person demanded it, I said, why not? Ferox, sorry, no Shrek charms to claim today, my friend. My apologies. We'll try our best for next time. Hope you're well. Thanks for tuning in. Yes. So this week we're going to be reviewing Shrek and Shrek 2 because why not? Before we get to those topics, though, we need to set up our end games. These are games that we like to play at the end of the show. First among them is our movie quotes. We're going to give you two movie quotes. You need to try and guess which films they are from, and I'm going to go to the Football Encyclopedia himself for movie quote number one. Scotty, take it away.
I can just bring it up so I remember exactly how it goes. I don't look like a fool in my first 5 minutes here. Here we go. Are you saying I'm stupid? Do I look stupid to you? Let's just think logically, shall we? Let's just think about it for a second. That's not exactly how it goes, but... Now,
when Scotty mentioned this, I'm like, I know this. I'm 95% sure I know this. And before we went live, Scotty goes, what do you think it is? And I told him, and I was wrong. But then I got it like 30 seconds later.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, so very good quote.
It sounds like it should be Goodfellas line, but it's not. I'm guessing.
And the second quote from a different film that you need to guess goes like this. I'm out here for you. You don't know what it's like to be me, out here for you. It's an up at dawn, pride-swallowing siege that I'll never fully tell you about, okay? I'll go again, because I stumbled. I'm out here for you. You don't know what it's like to be me, out here for you. It's an up at dawn, pride-swallowing siege that I will never fully tell you about, okay?
I feel like it's got a military theme because someone's getting up at dawn.
Maybe not. And the other game we like to play is 6 Degrees. We're going to give you two actors. You need to try and link them via films that they've starred alongside with other actors. So if I was to name Nicole Kidman and Samuel L. Jackson, one solution would be Nicole Kidman was in Moulin Rouge with Ewan McGregor, and Ewan McGregor was in Star Wars with Samuel L. Jackson. That would be 2 Degrees. The two topic actors for you to link this evening are, Jason?
They are Dev Patel and Emily Blunt.
Two very talented actors. I smiled when you told me those two. I'm like, good choice.
Cool.
Good
Thank
choice
you.
Indeed. Anyway, those are the
Patel,
end games.
man.
We're going to play them at the end of the show. Before we get to the end of the show, let's get to the start of the show with our first review. It is of Shrek, the 2001 Best Animated Feature Film. Can you believe it? I was 11 years old. How about you, Jace?
I was 11 years old. I remember the first time I watched this, we were on a school trip down in Canberra. I think we were down in Cooma or somewhere around there, and then we stopped into a movie theater to watch it, and that was my experience. Great.
Scotty, you would have been about 2, 3?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I was just a bub, and my first words were layers. It was great. Onions. Shrek started
Anyway.
it all for me. No, yeah.
I head on over to IMDb, where the film is detailed with a runtime of 1 hour and 30 minutes. It is an animated adventure comedy, and the synopsis goes: a mean lord exiles fairy tale creatures to the swamp of a grumpy ogre who must go on a quest and rescue a princess for the Lord in order to get his land back. It's directed by Andrew Adamson and Vicky Jensen, based on the book by William Steig, and written also by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio. It stars Mike Myers as Shrek himself. We have Eddie Murphy as Donkey, Cameron Diaz as Princess Fiona, and John Lithgow as Lord Farquaad. I didn't know this. Vincent Castle as
Monsieur
Hood. Did not know
Yeah.
that. Very interesting. Anyway, that's look. Why am I even bothering explaining what Shrek is? Anyway, I thought it's fun just to like see what the IMDb synopsis says. I mean, who doesn't know Shrek? Honestly, who's going to IMDb thinking, I wonder what this film's about? Anyway, like we said, 2001, nominated. Oh, it won. Sorry, Best Animated Feature Film. And I want to say Shrek has like gone on this weird journey where it like dominated my childhood and the childhood of like our entire generation as the one film that, at least at my primary school, was thrown on at any moment that we were going to go into the AV room. Remember the AV room, and watch a film just to fill an hour. So yeah, at least that's where it started. Then it feels like the franchise went a bit downhill with subsequent sequels, and then now, as our generation rises to prominence on the internet, it's become somewhat of a I don't know, a bit of a meme, yeah, like one of those easy memeable films, but at least in my eyes, no less loved. I want to go to you first, Jason. Like, revisiting Shrek.
Man,
how do you feel?
I think it's safe to say that there was a lot of Jason giggles in there. It was really fun going back and watching it. I don't know. It's just it was a simpler time back then, and like
It really was.
and the animation quality and the textures weren't that great, but but I just ignored it by the time the first number came along. It was I don't know, it was really fun. Every joke, I guess it's been a while since I've seen it, and then I watched it again not last night, the night before, and so all of the jokes were still like kind of fresh. So yeah, I think it was the right time for us to revisit Shrek, because it was knee-slappingly good.
Yeah, I think I understand exactly where you're coming from. The reason why Ben isn't here is that he couldn't like convince himself to rewatch it another time. Like, he's said he squeezed all the juice out of that lemon. There is no more enjoyment in that film for him, because he's watched it so many times. And honestly, like, it's probably in the dozens of watches that I've dozens of I've watched it more than like 24 times at this point, is what I'm trying to say. But it's 20 years old. Like, I think that's I can't tell you the last time I watched it. And so for me, Jace, as well, like, revisiting the film just took me back to when I was 11 years old. And yes, I was tired of it by the time I was 16, but I hadn't seen it in so long that I was filled with joy revisiting it. And reminded of just how like awesomely dark some of the humor is as well. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Actually, no, before I get into this specific example, I want to go to Scott first. Scott, did you rewatch this recently? And regardless, what are you thinking of Shrek? How are you feeling about Shrek 20 years on?
Because I only kind of found out this afternoon that you guys wanted me on board, so I haven't had much of a chance. But like what you were saying earlier, like, Shrek is nearly ingrained in the psyche of people our age. Like, I was thinking just before I jumped on, it's not it's not like the Ace Ventura of quotable movies, but do you know the Muffin Man? Like, how much that dominated the lines at school, and Muffin Man. Yeah, that one, and all the Lord Farquaad jokes you used to get, shit like that. I'm making waffles. Another example. So that's what I was thinking. Like, those, when I think Shrek, it's the quotes that come out, and how like just how like it's an up to down movie for ages. You could be 5 and laugh your ass off at that movie. You could be 50 and laugh at that movie. Like there's a fart joke within 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I had fun. I had fun thinking of it from the different perspectives.
Yeah.
I
I have to agree. I think it's honestly probably like DreamWorks's first mega hit that really landed with all audiences, right? Like we compliment Disney for being able to toe that line between entertaining, like to Scott's point, a 50-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 65-year-old, to the same extent, right? Like my mum adores The Lion King. She was watching it as I was growing up watching it, and it was no less enjoyable for her than it was and still is for me. And she still can remember, key scenes from that film, and will note that Rafiki is one of her favorite characters in that movie. And I think it's something similar here, where I go back and to Scott's one, I'm just remembering all these lines that I knew off by heart as an 11 or a 12-year-old, and chuckling to myself, much like you probably were, Jason, just like revisiting and like reliving the memory of how entertaining this film was as a kid. But to get to the point that I was going to make earlier, just like how dark some of this humor is. There was this one TikTok video that went around recently.
Yep. Is it the bear?
The bear.
Yeah.
Have you seen this one, Scott?
Yeah, no, I think I recall. I recall. I don't think I've seen the TikTok outright, but I recall something.
There is adult humor scattered throughout Shrek, right, and also throughout a variety of Disney films. And there's obviously Lord Farquaad compensating for something. There's some dirty humor as well, right? Just like stereotypical, almost like slapstick stuff, where they arrive at Duloc, and you have that little jingle that plays when they visit. Like, it's almost like they're at the visitor center, and this little jingle plays that introduces them to Duloc. And one of the lines is, "Please keep off the grass, shine your shoes, and wipe your face." Yeah, and then later on, there's one line that I didn't realize was I suppose implementing that same type of humor, and that was during when you see Monsieur Hood and he's dancing and singing, introducing himself in The Merry Men, and one of the lines is, I did not know this until this watching 20 years after the fact, goes, "I like an honest fight and a saucy little maid." What he's basically saying is he likes to get, and then Hood bursts onto screen and says paid instead of laid, which is the joke. Man, so many little small things like that will wash over, will sort of fly over a kid's head, and but adults will find great entertainment in. And of course, just to explain to chat, if people haven't seen this TikTok video about the three bears. So basically, when at the start of the film, where you happen across Donkey, and he's being given up to the authorities for being a fairy tale creature, and you see a variety of different fairy tale creatures, and in one cage you have the three bears from Goldilocks. It's the dad and the mum in one cage, and the baby bear in the other, and he's crying because his cage is too small. Anyway, the mother bear is wearing a pink bow on her head, right? 10 minutes later, all the fairy tale creatures are in the swamp, and it's the papa bear and the baby bear's crying. Okay, and it's like they've been exiled to Shrek's swamp. Later on in the film, 20 minutes later, you see him crying, you don't know why, but the mum's not there. 20 minutes later, you pan across Lord Farquaad's room, and on the floor is a bear pelt with a pink bow on the head, as if to say the mum has been murdered and is now lying on Lord Farquaad's bedroom floor. I was blown away when I saw this TikTok video. And just amazing. Yeah. So many little details.
Yeah. And man, that was, I loved because now with all of the memes and everything in the cranium, watching this again with all of that ingrained and picking it all out, I was like, it just made it really enjoyable. Because yes, little me would not have gotten all of the jokes. So yeah, and that's the magic of Pixar films, right? There's something for the adults and there's something for the kids as well, which makes it enjoyable for the whole family, right? Oh man, and yeah, this was groundbreaking for being a really like having a lot of pop culture references in there and being attractive for um, for the spin on the classic fairy tale, right? A few of the things that I loved about it, watching it again, is how strong of a character Princess Fiona is as well. I mean, she's headstrong, she kicks ass. She's not just like your typical damsel in distress as well. And I thought that was awesome. But yeah, I think if you haven't seen Shrek already, what are you doing with yourself? You know.
You're totally
Like,
right
yeah.
about Fiona though. Like I totally forgot that that fight scene towards the middle there where they're going against Hood and his merry men, and she takes care of business. Like she's the one to
kicks ass.
to handle herself, and she's not the
Matrix-esque.
damsel. You know, he rescues her from the ogre, right? As if she's a damsel in distress, and she's hardly that. It's funny, like
Poof our red fawns, poof our red fawns.
I wonder
This
if
would be
that
so
was
much
like-
easier if I wasn't colorblind.
I wonder if that was a parody because there's a lot of that movie that kind of parodies Disney as well. Like I remember, like up until 2001, probably Mulan and Meg from Hercules were like the only Disney princesses that weren't damsels in distress. So I wonder if that was like a slight dig at Disney as well.
Well, there are so many things. Like, isn't Lord Farquaad supposed to look like a Disney executive or something like that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think. And
I've heard that one as well.
Yeah, because that's why they made him the way that he is and such a big asshole and like hates fairy tale creatures and whatnot.
Ah, right.
Yeah, because they like the people who created DreamWorks and Disney. Something about like they tried to pitch to Disney and then they didn't approve or something like that, or the I don't know, someone was a dick and then they said, you know what, screw it, and they said, and then they made him.
His name was Lord Barquad.
Yeah, I don't know, something like that.
Something
I'm
silly,
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure there's an article or something out there. Chat, if you're watching, if you find it, put it in the chat. That's great. Also, Ferox, I saw your little 6 degrees there. I haven't read through all of it, but
Yeah, let's get to this 6 degrees answer. Thanks, Ferox. Dev Patel was in Hotel Mumbai with Jason Isaacs, who was in Black Hawk Down
Hawk
with
Down.
Tom Hardy, who was in Inception with JGL, who starred in Looper with Emily Brunt. And breathe. 4 degrees. All right, that's solid effort, man. Well done.
Yeah,
we're gonna try
nice.
and we'll try and get like fewer than 4 degrees
Fewer
at
than
the
4,
end
yeah.
of the show. But yeah, that's a
GG.
good
That's
answer.
Good.
Any answer, including JGL, it's fine by me. He's the best. Anyway, yeah, back on topic. Shrek. Like, I totally understand the lack of any desire to revisit the film because it is it's exhausted to almost as much as Let It Go from Frozen at this point for a lot of people. But yeah, revisiting this one, I think beat for beat, laugh per minute, it's just so fantastic. It holds up. I think anyone who hasn't seen it, firstly, I would like to meet them. Yeah, to your point, Jason, what are you doing with your life? And yeah, I would love to see like someone watching it for the first time, their reaction. I think there's the visuals in this are still fine. They're not too dated by any stretch of the imagination. Whereas I think something like Toy Story 1 is almost getting there. It's like, I'm not sure anymore. That could do with like a remaster at this point.
Yeah, not quite
And
PlayStation 1
dinosaurs as
graphics,
well.
but yeah.
I feel it with dinosaurs and ants. That kind of, it feels really borderline like triangles all over the place.
Yeah, like the lighting and the shadows in this, like it's not there. Details in the background are very lacking. But for the most part,
enough
like
to sell the story.
Sorry.
Enough to sell the story.
Yeah, it's totally serviceable is what I'll say. 20 years on, I think you can't criticize it too harshly for that. So yeah, I think to some point like it still remains, at least for now, somewhat of a timeless animation.
I did watch a little for the Corridor Crew video, and they did an animators react, and they were talking about Shrek, which was so like, because it was like their last episode last week that they did, and I thought that's so funny because we're watching Shrek next week. They talked about when they were dipping the gingerbread man into the milk, and they were talking about when they were dipping him into the milk, they weren't really happy with the milk. Didn't look like milk; it just looked like white liquid. And then after the film, someone had developed subsurface scattering and like how to do textures better, and to the point where they could tell the difference between skim milk and full cream milk in engine, like graphically like made. And so then when they made Shrek 2, which we'll get to momentarily, when they were pouring the milk on it, they're like, oh yeah, we're so happy we got this milk, which I'll touch on when we get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like technically it's fine.
I think there are so many. There's such detail and care taken with so many of these scenes, and just like, and so many like great references and moments, Jason, that you mentioned. Like speaking about that gingerbread man scene, like just the whole way that scene is constructed, where Lord Farquaad is like marching down the hallway towards the interrogation room. There's giant metal doors. It swings in and the camera pans up to his head and he's like, enough. He's ready to talk. As you see like the shadow of the gingerbread man being like plunged into the milk, and then like he's thrown on the table, and Lord Farquaad grabs the light and brings it down to him as if he's actually interrogating him. It was just so, I don't know, it feels like really well done. They didn't half-ass it. They knew exactly what they were attempting in that scene, and they really nailed it. And it's no less entertaining 20 years later. Like I can still really appreciate that. So for the most part, yeah, you can't pick. I'm not sure you can pick a flaw in this one. There is like one sort of movie sin that every movie commits. That, you know, but I do want to point out in this part is when Donkey is trying to tell Shrek what Fiona has just confessed to him last night, and the fact that, you know, she's under this spell, and she becomes an ogre, you know, once the sun goes down. And Shrek is just upset because Lord Farquaad's arrived to pick up Fiona, and he's walking away back to the swamp all angry like. And Donkey's like trying to spit his words out, and Shrek's not letting him. He's just cutting him off. It's just like any scene like that is still really frustrating, because all it takes is just like, no, you shut up. I've got something really important to tell you. But look, it's a movie sin in 90% of films, so I won't hold it over Shrek in this instance, I suppose.
He kind of does that towards the end when Shrek ends up back in the swamp, though. I can't remember the exact quote. Just like, it's everything, me. Well, it's my turn. It kind of slams his hoof on him. So I mean, there's a bit of that, but you're right. It could have been done 5 minutes earlier. But they're gonna make the film go to time, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It was just like, yeah, I've got something really important to tell you. And it's like, we don't have time, this, that, and the other. I'm like, just splurt it out then and there. Like, just interrupt them. Fiona's an ogre at nighttime. What? Then you explain it. Anyway. Matt, thanks for joining us, man. How are you? Hope you're well. What was
Eddie
that,
Murphy, perfect for that role.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy,
like Donkey, Eddie Murphy is just, they were made for each other.
Yeah. And just off the back of 3 years earlier, playing Mushu in Mulan, right? Essentially the same character, but yeah, still no less entertaining in this rendition, I suppose. Any final thoughts on the first Shrek film, gents, before we jump over? Actually, we didn't do the scores. We had a 7.9 on IMDb, a Metascore of 84. Take a guess of the Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm gonna guess 80.
Trying to think, probably. I can't imagine animated movies were as loved back then as they kind of got as young. I'm going to say like a mid to late 70s.
88% certified fresh.
88.
So the critics loved it. Audience score of 90 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So beloved amongst most people, let's say.
Shrek is life. Shrek is love.
Is that all on top of your bed?
It's
frame?
a meme. It's a really dark meme. Don't look it up.
Okay.
Oh,
I won't.
God.
That's all good.
Shrek somehow got the Rule 34 treatment. It's horrifying.
Yeah. Anyway, Shrek 2.
Anyway, Shrek. It's on streaming services. If you haven't watched it, why are you watching us? Go watch it right now, you idiot.